All right. Well, first off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you, GT, for allowing us to come and share. So first off, this is my herd, my wife's herd. Our eldest is getting married here June 29th, so we go from age of 22 down to 5. Woo! Like I said, we have our niece and nephew. We've been foster parents for the last 3 years. We're on the verge of adopting them, and that will give us 10. So I'd like to read a scripture off to you. Psalms 127, 3 through 5. It says, "Lo, children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of the youth. Happy is the man that has a quiver full of them, and shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate." I'm happy, and I am blessed. So we're going to be talking today a little bit about your creation. I want to take the pro-life in a different scenario. I'm not thinking about the babies that haven't been created. I'm going to tell you how you were created. And I'm going to talk about the miracle of you. All right? So, quiz. My first question is this. What was God's first commandment to man? I have it here. It's in Genesis. Anybody know? Have sex. He told Adam and Eve to have sex. All right, so I can't tell that in school, though. But that's what he told us to do. He said in verse 27, verse 1, "And God created man in his own image. In the image God created him, male and female, created him. And God blessed them, and God said, 'Be fruitful and multiply.'" Translation, we're to have sex. So today's lesson is all about sex. Okay?
I don't think anybody's going to be nodding off here.
All right. There we go. All right, so this is Jordan. He's our 5-year-old. He's just so darn cute. Here's where we're going to go. Miracle of life, our agenda is, what does science say? And then we're going to do a second face to this. What does law say? All right. Number 1, sperm and eggs are seeds. That's all they are. Your brain doesn't make them. Your body is already pre-programmed to make the sperm and the egg. They are not the mother or the father. My sperm is not me. My wife's eggs are not who? Her. Okay? If you were to take all your DNA strands out and unwrap them, they would go to the moon and back 6,000 times. Just yours. If I was to take Adam's and Joe's circulatory system, all our arteries, veins, and capillaries, infuse them together, they would go from the earth to the moon. Just these two. That's how many blood vessels you have in your body. Pretty exciting. All right, guys, I'm going to talk to you first. In your lifetime, you're going to make 400 billion sperm. Every second, you're making 1,500 sperm. So when you're watching the football game and your wife says you're not doing anything, yeah, you are. You're making sperm. Don't use that, though. It will not work. All right. You can quote me on that one. All right, you ladies in here, you have 500,000 eggs the moment you come out of your mom's womb. So technically, your mother was carrying her grandchild's eggs. Isn't that crazy to think like that? You're already created with the egg seed for future childbearing years. And ladies will have 400 to 500 periods in a lifetime. And my students at high school don't like that because they're 15. They've only just begun. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the male sperm. They have 23 chromosomes, same as the egg has 23. They come out to 46. Guys, do you know that you have nurses inside you? Say, what? Do you know that your body thinks that sperm is the mortal enemy right now? your white blood cells are going to try to destroy your sperm because it doesn't recognize your sperm as you. Anybody watch Lord of the Rings, Gandalf? You shall not pass! I love that section because your nurse cells were created to sustain your seed's life. If we're not created with nurse cells, do you think reproduction is going to continue? No. The first humans would have had what? Nurse cells. They protect the sperm. Force fields, you know that the woman's body is very acidic, and each sperm that comes out of you guys is coated with a force field, kind of like Star Wars. If they don't have force field, what's going to happen? No reproduction. They're going to be dead. They're going to be zapped on contact. When they come out of the guy, there is an energy supply. It gets one last juice of glucose so it can make the run. Pretty darn cool. Do you know that sperm can smell? When they get close to the egg, they get so excited their tails really wag like a dog. They go, woo! They get really excited so they can smell. And last but not least, sperm can live up to 7 days inside the woman. Woman's body hates sperm. It literally thinks it's the mortal enemy. It's trying to destroy every sperm like a cold, a virus, and it's designed to do that. However, the body is also equipped with a river called mucin. Whenever the egg is released, the sperm has two directions. It either can go left or it can go right. Where the body is, where the egg is on there on the left, there will be a little river that flows out, and it will direct the sperm to where the egg or the sperm needs to go to the egg. How many sperm make it to the egg? Anybody want to guess? 1. Only 50 make it. There are 250 million that start the journey, but only 50 make it to the egg. What do you think your possibility of you being created would be if there was no mucin? No force field. Do you understand what I'm saying? No energy supply. It's 0. I mean, only 50 out of 250 million will make it to the egg, and it needs all the help it can possibly get. Oh, you won more than that, baby. So, what you're seeing here, we talked about conception. I want to change the narrative. I want to change it to creation. I think we need to change the definition from conception to creation. The moment you are conceived, there is a zinc released in your body when the sperm enters the egg, and there's a bright flash of light that takes place. The moment that the sperm entered the egg, you were created. We talk about that, but a lot of times we say at the moment of conception, it needs to, in my opinion, we need to start changing it, the narrative to the moment of creation. When the sperm enters the egg, it needs a code. Does anybody have a cell phone that's handy real quick here? I'm going to try to break into it with the password. Oh, is it a oh, jeez, he's got a pattern? All right, I got to draw the pattern here. Let's see if I can get into it. I'm dead. The code. The sperm needs the code. It's not the first one that gets there. There is a matching code. I just died. If I was the sperm and I came to the egg and I knocked on the door, I just tried the password to get in, I'm now dead. I swim off and I die. I didn't get in. You need the exact code in order to get in.
Of the 50.
Of the 50 that make it out of 250 million. So let's look here real quick. Pregnancy. The period is 1 to 5 days. Ovulation is whenever a woman is more susceptible to becoming pregnant. There is only a 24-hour window out of the 28-day cycle a woman can get pregnant. So we're going to assume that the woman ovulated on day 14. Her cycle ends on day 28. On day 34, she says, you know, honey, I'm running a little late. You know what I mean? My wife came to me multiple times and said, honey, I'm late. All right. 14 to 34 is 20 days. The day my wife told me, when she took the pregnancy test, that we were pregnant with Philip, Daniel, Micah, Abigail, Nathan, Isaiah, Tim, and Jordan, there was a heartbeat. My wife didn't even know she was pregnant, and that child had a heartbeat. Isn't that cool?
One of the first organs to form is the heart. Until now, the tiny clump of heart cells, about the size of a poppy seed, has been still. But after 22 days, a single cell stirs, as if jolted to life. This tiny movement sparks a chain reaction, and other cells in the cluster pick up the rhythm. Incredibly, they all begin to beat in perfect unison. The new cells divide, dance to the same beat, and will grow to form the embryo's heart. The muscle cells of the heart are pre-programmed to contract. Later on, when the nervous system is more developed, the brain will carefully control the rate of contraction, keeping it steadily beating and pumping for the rest of the child's life.
That was you at 20 days. 30 days after you were created, hormones start getting released. If you had the Y chromosome, you started having testosterone released, and that's when your body started getting the reproduction organs of having testicles and a penis, versus my wife, she was an X sperm, and she started getting the females. That doesn't mean, bam, it started right away. That means it wasn't there. But this is the process at 30 days. 5 to 6 weeks, you are the size of a raisin. Your heartbeat and brain waves were now detectable at the doctor's office. Umbilical cord, this is really, 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 really cool. I could spend a lot of time talking about this. We're talking about on the way up. Do you realize, you ladies, we're breathing out your child's carbon dioxide? Isn't that kind of crazy? Not only are you breathing in for your child, but you're breathing out the CO2 as well. It's kind of pretty awesome. We talk about the food a lot, but I think it's really cool that we're also talking about the breath. You're breathing for and you're breathing out the poisonous gas that could kill your child and it. Oh, how's that happen? Oh yeah, you were created, designed throughout your DNA to do that. 12 weeks, you're the size of a thumb. You could suck your thumb, you could pee, hiccup, kick, grab objects, turn heads, swim, frown, and hear. All of this was at 12 weeks, and that's what you looked like inside your mother. All right, I'd like you to high five somebody. Give somebody a high five. Look at your hand. This is how big you were at 20 weeks. You were the size of your hand. And at 20 weeks, you could feel pain. 22 weeks, you're a size a little bit more than that. And now with medical technology, you can live outside your womb. And we just heard that baby that was born, that was the size of what a juice box, 8.6 ounces, has gone home. And I think that child was 23 weeks. So that is all with a medical assistance now. All right, so here we're going to kind of sum this up. At one point, you were one of 250 million sperm. Today, you are one of 7.5 million people on this planet. It's estimated there are over 50 billion people that have walked this planet, that have breathed, that have been able to sing, shout, laugh. You're one of those 50 billion. All right, so here, are you ready? There was no other day that you could have ever been created in all of society and all of eternity than the day that you were created. No other mother, no other father combination could have ever created you. If you would have been created, or your parents would have had sex the day after ovulation, you would not be here today. Oh, you say, but my parents had sex next month and they had a baby. It would be a completely different human being. It would not be you. It could be a boy, it could be a girl, but it would not be you. Your only chance of life in the whole scheme of things was the day your parents had sex. That's why life is so important. That's why every creation, every child that has had the opportunity to live inside their mother's womb is important, because that's the only day that they could have been created. So is it liberty and justice for all? We talk about human life. It's interesting. I was thinking about this past week, and I found this. We always go from baby, infant. That's the law. That's where we're at. We do nothing in our judicial system until that baby comes out. So we go baby, infant, we go toddler. Oh, now we're a preschooler. Oh, they're in their terrible twos. We identify based on different things. Well, they're an adolescent. Teenager, 16. We identify our human race with what? Identifications. And then, oh, now we're an adult. Now we're just old or whatever. In the womb, we define it as a fetus. It's still a what? A human. But our identification, we get lost in identifications. Fetus technically is Latin. I don't know if we're trying to sound like intelligent by calling it a fetus or what. It means young one or offspring. I think we need to talk about the whole human life cycle, not just when the baby comes out. All right, so what did the law state with Roe versus Wade? Since January 1973, roughly 56 million babies have been aborted. This is what you look like at 8-9 months. The woman has a right to her own body. I agree. Ladies, if you want a tattoo, you go get a tattoo of a heart. You know what I mean? If you want to pierce your ears, go for it. If you want to take a tan, go for it. You know, you want to dye your hair, go for it. I should still work on my hair. I don't know. All right. The baby inside the mother is the mother. That's according to the law. That's roughly what the law is saying. They're saying that child is the mother. The baby is only a human being when it takes its first breath at birth. It's not a human while it's in the mother's body. It's not human. We'll call it an embryo, zygote, fetus. We'll use terms, but it's not a human. Every human has a what? A beginning, right? And we have a end. It's not the identification. We're still a human. All right. So female teachers cannot get their ears pierced in some states until 18 without what? Parents' permission. They can't get tattoos without parents' permission. Can't go to a tanning salon. They can't even take medication at school without their parents' approval. But there are some states that will what? Allow a woman that's 16 years old to get an abortion because that's her body. But in school she can't take medicine without the parents' approval. So how are abortions done? Anybody know what RU486 is? RU486 is the morning after pill. So if a woman thinks that she may be pregnant, she could take the morning pill and after morning pill, and she could take it and start a miscarriage. The vacuum is a little tube that has a grinder in it, and they'll do this up until, like the 8th week, 10th week, 12th week, wherever it's too big, and they'll actually vacuum it out, grind it up, and suck it out. Yeah. And then the tongs, there are different versions of them so that they can use their instruments appropriately that they need to do to do the surgery with. And what they literally do is rip, pull, yank, and rip the baby apart. And then they have to put them on a table to make sure that they have all the body parts that are there so they're not missing anything. Oh, by the way, that's all legal in the United States. So what does Pennsylvania law state? We are at currently 24 weeks, and if a woman wants to get an abortion, they have to have counseling, and they have to wait 24 hours in order to have the abortion. If it's a minor The minor needs to have consent unless there is health issues that's involved, that the woman's life's in danger. So, as you know, we're on a current hotbed right now within the last 6 months. So my old slide was this, and I've had to modify it because I'm trying to get up as current as I possibly can, and it's kind of difficult. So I pulled this off this week, and as you can see, there are different heartbeat laws that have been voted in, and as you can see, the gray ones have been blocked. So that's why it's so important that when we talk about and who we are going to appoint at different levels is so important, because we could pass the fetal heartbeat law, but they also can be blocked accordingly. So we are making some headway in heartbeat states. This is what I currently know. I could be wrong in a couple things, but I think I have it pretty down pat here. As you can see, January 22nd, New York passed their Reproductive Health Act, and then Illinois just passed their recent one. They're on the verge of being the abortion capital state. Coming into it is, for any reason, in a fourth, and we already know about the Virginia governor. The blue is what I had shared a couple years ago, and I think this is pretty close. But as you can see, what states, how many states are in what weeks and where they're at. Currently, as I know, there are 11 states that have no restrictions, meaning that 9 months they could do a partial birth abortion, and they could go in and abort the child at 9 months. So some of the reasons why people do this, looking around, I tried to find as many sources as I possibly can, but this is probably pretty much the average. As you can see, we don't feel mature. Most of them are not ready, they can't afford it, and so forth. If you look down, if I had a little highlighter, victim of rape is 0.5, it's not 1%. Rape and incest is like less than 1%. So that's just some interesting numbers that we have there that are up there, and why people do what they do. And lastly, not least, I'm not just pro-life, I'm pro-you. You know what I mean? I'm pro-you. I'm pro-Kurt, I'm pro-you. I'm pro for everybody that has been created. And I appreciate you. I thank you so much for giving me your time and sharing. Jenny?